In 1983, a United States Army lieutenant colonel sat down and wrote a 29-page classified analysis of out-of-body consciousness for the Central Intelligence Agency. His name was Wayne McDonnell. His conclusion, submitted within the official intelligence structure of the United States military, was that the human mind can be deliberately trained to escape the restrictions of the physical body. Not through drugs, not through surgery, through sound, and through a specific mental technique performed at the edge of sleep. The document was classified for 20 years. It was declassified in 2003 and sat largely unread in a government reading room for nearly 2 decades, until the internet found it. What it contains is not a conspiracy theory. It is a government document with a file number, with a named author, with scientific methodology, and buried inside its 29 pages is a description of a mental state that Neville Goddard had been teaching since 1944. The same state, different language. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly what both men were pointing at, and you will have a protocol you can run tonight. To understand what the CIA was studying, you first need to understand the man behind it. Robert Monroe was not a mystic. He was not a guru. He was a radio executive in 1950s New York. And then one evening, during a routine relaxation session, he felt himself leave his body. He didn't go to a shaman. He didn't write a spiritual memoir. He built a laboratory. Monroe spent years developing an audio technology, specific frequencies played separately into each ear that could reproduce the altered state on demand. He called it Hemi-Sync. Here's the science. Play 400 Hz in one ear, 410 in the other, and your brain generates a third tone internally, 10 Hz, a frequency no speaker can produce, generated entirely inside your skull. That internal frequency pulls your brain waves into a specific state. The Monroe Institute eventually attracted military researchers, scientists, intelligence officers. And in 1983, the CIA decided they needed to understand exactly what Monroe had found. What they found in that report changed how I think about everything that follows. The report is real. File number CIA-RDP96-00788 R0017002-10016-5. 29 pages. Written by Lieutenant Colonel Wayne McDonnell after he personally completed the Gateway training program. His conclusion was not ambiguous. He wrote, and I am quoting the actual document, "A training system designed to alter consciousness, moving it outside the physical sphere so as to ultimately escape even the restrictions of time and space." A United States Army Lieutenant Colonel writing those words in a classified document for the CIA. McDonnell mapped the progression of gateway states using quantum mechanics, holographic brain theory, and biophysics. This was not a dismissal. This was not skepticism. This was a government attempting to understand something it could not explain away. The report was classified for 20 years, declassified in 2003, and then largely ignored until the internet found it in 2021. But here is the part that nobody talks about. In 1944, almost 40 years before that CIA report, One man had already described the same state, the same threshold, the same mechanism in a $12 book that most people have never read. Neville Goddard was a lecturer in New York City in the 1940s. No laboratory, no government funding, no scientific credentials. But in his book, Feeling is the Secret, published in 1944, he described a threshold state between wakefulness and sleep where, his words, the conscious analytical mind becomes quiet and the subconscious becomes directly receptive. He called it the state akin to sleep. Now listen to how MacDonald described the deepened gateway state 40 years later. The left hemisphere analytical function quiets, and the individual accesses levels of consciousness beyond ordinary waking awareness. Goddard, 1944. MacDonald, 1983. Different language, different century, different methodology. The same door. And what both men agreed on, what the mystic and the military analyst both concluded independently, is that this state can be deliberately entered, and that what you bring into it shapes what comes out of it. Which raises the question, how do you enter it? What does the science actually say is happening in your brain? When you are fully awake, your brain runs on beta waves. Fast, analytical, critical. This is the part of your mind that evaluates everything and rejects most of it. As you relax towards sleep, brain waves slow into alpha. The critical function softens. And then, at the edge of sleep, theta, 4 to 8 cycles per second. The prefrontal cortex, your rational editor, begins to disengage. And here's what neuroscience has confirmed. In theta, your brain cannot reliably distinguish between a vividly felt imagined experience and a real one. The same neural pathways fire. The same neurochemical signals are released. Sports psychology has known this for decades. Olympic athletes don't just train physically, they train in theta. Mental rehearsal in deep relaxation produces measurable changes in physical performance. Goddard called this assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He had no word for theta, he had no brain scanner, but he had found the mechanism 40 years before the instruments caught up. So, you now know what the state is. You know why it works. The only question left is, what do you do tonight? 5 steps, under 15 minutes, tonight. Step 1. Lie flat on your back, head level, arms at your sides. This posture matters. It removes the physical signals that keep your nervous system in waking mode. Step 2. Close your eyes and simply notice your breath for 2 minutes. Don't control it, just feel it. You are waiting for a subtle heaviness, a warmth in the limbs. That is alpha. That is your entry signal. Step 3. And this is what most people get wrong. Do not run a movie in your mind of your desired outcome unfolding. Instead, find one moment, 5 seconds, the single scene that could only exist if your desire had already happened. A friend's voice saying your name with surprise. A feeling in your chest reading a specific piece of news. One moment felt as real. Goddard wrote, "The feeling which comes in response to the question, 'How would I feel were my wish realized?' is the feeling which should monopolize your attention as you relax into sleep." Step 4. Loop that 5 seconds. Repeat it. Don't chase sleep. Don't force it. Step 5. Let sleep take you inside the loop. That is the protocol. That is the gateway. That is what the CIA studied, what Monroe engineered, and what Goddard taught for free in 1944. Before you go, there is one more thing about this protocol that Goddard specifically warned people about. A mistake that makes the entire technique fail. It takes 30 seconds to explain, and it will change how you run this tonight. Goddard was clear about this. The most common mistake is choosing something too big for your first attempt. Not because big things are impossible, but because your analytical mind, the part that Theta is designed to quiet, will flood back in the moment you try to feel something your current belief finds unbelievable. Start small. A specific message, an unexpected phone call, a piece of news that surprises you, something your nervous system can actually feel as real, without resistance. Run the small experiment first. Let the result show you what this state is capable of. Then, scale. In the comments below, write, "I ran the protocol." Come back in 72 hours. Reply to your own comment. Tell us, not what you hoped for, what moved. That is Awakening Pathway. Subscribe if you want to go deeper. I will see you in the comments.